bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shalom, Shabbat, Shalom, Shabbat, Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Bim, bam, bim, 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 bam, bim, 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 bam, bim, bam, bim, 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 bam, bim, 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 bim. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom, ma yafe hayom. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat Shabbat shalom, Shabbat Shabbat shalom, Shabbat Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat Shabbat shalom, Shabbat Shabbat shalom, Shabbat Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom.
Well, Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
I'm going to invite you all to turn around. Is the camera on? And wave to all of our online people.
I
don't
there.
see a green light. Oh, there they are, over that way. That way. Wave over there, turn around, say Shabbat Shalom. We're missing you. It's nice and comfortable in the sanctuary, so we are missing you terribly. But we know that you're online and that you're watching. Dr. Artie Gummer is going to be leading us in song, and I'm Rabbi Scott Colbert, in case you didn't know who I was. And before we begin Shabbat, I think many of us are surprised with, though we shouldn't be surprised because this has been coming now for 2 months, but the actual reading of the Supreme Court's documents today and decision is truly against Jewish tradition and Jewish law, and it's very, very upsetting. And I would just urge all of you to be continuously writing our representatives, because it's time that we really stand up and elect some people who will change the laws in this country and make us back to being the forward-thinking country we have been. So with that, we're going to take a nice deep breath and let go of all of the tourists that we find ourselves in. And we're going to just breathe and take another deep breath and let it out slowly as we join together, welcoming Shabbat.
שיר חדש. שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני שיר חדש. שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני Shir Chadash. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth, a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. I will sing unto God a new song.
Those of us who live in plenty are grateful for the clothing on our bodies, a garment that shields us from the elements. We pray for a time when this blessing may be spoken by all people, a time when all human beings are clothed with safety, with warmth, with what they need, especially and wrapped in God's love. And so as we continue our service, we're going to bring in Shabbat by lighting candles. I would invite you to please come forward and to light candles as we sing, and then we are going to bless candles after that.
Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. And let us say Amen.
We rise for the candle blessing, which you will find in your prayer books on page 120.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
And you may be seated. Let us turn to page 138 as we continue with Lecha Dodi, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
Lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד שם ותפארת ולתחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו במלאכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נפוחה. סוף מעשה במשובה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורהו מהורי. אורי אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני אלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. כוח אמוני ים סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Baruch Hu on page 146.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch HaMevorach. HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Roll into dawn, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Oreon v'layla, kolelor mifnei choshech, kolelor mifnei choshech.
page 152.
Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shem kevod malchuto, leolam va'ed. Baruch Shem kevod malchuto leolam va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Be seated, please.
Shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And all these words which I command you on this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and you shall speak of them when you're sitting in your house, when you're walking by the way, and when you're lying down, and when you rise up, and when you rise up, and you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be for frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house, and upon your gates, and upon your gates, that you may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
Speaking of love, I invite my good friends, Alan and Barbara, to come forward as we prepare for their wedding next weekend. Aha! So come up for a blessing. We need all the blessings we can get. And join me here at the Ark. Please rise. Face me. Facing me. Barbara and Alan, finding love. It's a wonderful thing. And thank you for giving me the opportunity of sharing not only tonight, but your chuppah with you next week. We all know that the path of life is often unpredictable. And yet, here you are, together. How wonderful. We cannot promise a life without hardship, without challenges, without pain. But we do know that whatever obstacles that you will face, you're going to find them lightened because you're going to face them together. Your children and your grandchildren will be with us here next week, and they stand as a living testament to your love, to you. You have given them love, and they love you back. What a beautiful thing. May God continue to watch over you, sheltering you day by day, bringing you rest and comfort through the night. And we thank God who, in God's love, has allowed us to reach an incredible moment in time. And so I'm going to ask God's blessing upon you. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, may God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka, may God let the divine face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom, may God let the divine face shine into your hearts and give you those choice blessings, those of life, good health, happiness, and most importantly, peace. And let us all say, Amen, and all say,
Simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, yehelanu, 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 ulecho Yisrael, yehelanu, yehelanu, ulecho Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, ulecho Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, ulecho Yisrael.
You may be seated. As we continue with our Song of Redemption, Michamocha, which you will find on page 158 in your prayer books, a song where we celebrate our freedom, the freedom of all.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la ya la la, ya la 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 la. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilo tosef eleh, nora tehilo tosef eleh. מלכותך ראו בניך, פוקע יום לפני משה. זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות תוסף אלה, נורא תהילות תוסף אלה, נורא תהילות תוסף אלה.
Page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shoreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shoreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ushmor tzetzeinu uvoeinu l'chaim u'shalom me'ata v'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shoreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shoreinu l'chaim.
Ushmor tzetenu uvoenu l'chaim u'l'shalom. May God guard our going out and our coming in to life from this time forth. How true. V'shamru, celebrating the joy of Shabbat, more than the Jewish people has kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jewish people. Page 162.
לעשות את השבת לדורותם, ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת שבת וינפש שבת וינפש. ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם.
Come to that part in our service where we take a moment, maybe more than a moment, to say prayers of healing, prayers of healing for those whom our congregation have requested, prayers of healing for those in your own hearts, whose names you will have an opportunity to recall in just a moment, and prayers for those who are suffering this Shabbat. So I'm going to ask our blessing upon Pam Rischfelder, David Ben Label, Doba Elka Bat Gittel, Benny Edelson, Jerry Bialis, Deborah Gilbert, Harris Friedman, Charles Cohn, Brett Samsky, Leslie Greenberg, Shmuel Ben Devora, Meir Ben Rachmiel Vadina, Ashish Sharma, Ken Schiffer, Helen Ray, Kathy Cook, Michelle Lappin, Daniel Bronson, Michelle Levy, Jeffrey Siegelman, and Carolyn Serra. If there are other names that should be called aloud now, I would ask you to do so. Please. Others? And we hold those names into our hearts with our own as we rise and turn to page 109 as we sing the Mishaberach prayer.
Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Be seated, but don't go too far away because we have blessings as well. Blessings of birthdays and anniversaries. I do know because Sunny reminded me that it is my wife's birthday this coming week. Thank you, Sunny. Yeah. It's true. It's true. So happy birthday, Karen. I'll try to remember on Thursday. Somebody call me on Thursday and remind. Okay. You have two? What's the other one? Yes, we signed our lease for our apartment. That is true. We did sign a lease. Yes, it was unbelievable. It was worse than buying a house. I've got news for you. Other wonderful things that have happened in the past week. Please share blessings. We need them. You're here, right? We're here on Shabbat? Yes. I thought it was your birthday. Okay, 5-0. Happy anniversary, our 50th anniversary. Very special. Many more years of happiness and health. And you're back from Israel? Had a good trip? Wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. I know. You were together. And I'm really glad you're back. Okay. Others? Artie.
So I'm not back from Israel, but Sherry and I are back from Denver where we celebrated Father's Day with our kids. Had a great time, and I got my annual Father's Day time.
Oh, but look at with the grandchildren. What a great time. Yeah, that is so cool. Did I just age myself? That is so cool. Okay. That is wonderful. Shall we say the Shechianu, because there are blessings in this world.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והרגיענו בזמן הזה.
So, I love being a rabbi. I loved being a cantor, but I really loved being a rabbi. And in 10 days, as Karen just said, we'll be living in 2 cities. It could be a whole book about a tale of 2 cities, I think. And no, Karen and I are going together. We're not separating after almost 54 years. But as you know, I will be serving a 146-year-old Reformed congregation in Huntsville as interim rabbi for the next year, and though I will only be there ostensibly 10 days a month, and Karen is already saying, yeah, right, I am finding that our lives, which have been very settled, are now upended. So before services began, somebody said, well, how did they find you? What happened? So I'm going to depart from my text for a moment and tell you this story, because it's a great story. So all of you know that I was a cantor before I was a rabbi, and when I was a cantor, I went to Hebrew Union College in New York from 1968 to 73. Most student cantors end up with maybe 2 or 3 student congregations. I had one. West Hempstead, the congregation is no longer there, unfortunately. But the rabbi that I worked with was named Sidney Ballin. Sidney and Jean, who taught Karen to cook, thank God I didn't have to eat my mother-in-law's recipes. Sidney was a wonderful person to work with, taught me a lot of things, and he had a son by the name, well, he had 2 sons and a daughter. Jeffrey and Ann Lois. Jeffrey was a rabbi who graduated 2 years before I did at the Hebrew Union College in New York. And then there was Martha, and there's Douglas. And unfortunately, Jeffrey passed away 11 years ago. He was the rabbi in Huntsville, Alabama. So it was right before Pesach, I think, or maybe right after Pesach. I started getting these texts from Ann Lois Ballin. Now, I haven't spoken to Ann Lois in many years. And I'm going, oh, God, somebody's pranked my phone. I'm getting these messages. And finally, she said, look it. This is the message. Look it. Call me already. And I figured, that's Ann Lois. She was never shy. So I call her up and I said, hi, what's up? She said, I've been watching you over these 50 years. Thank you. And I know that you've been at Temple Emanu-El for all these years, and I know that congregation had some problems, and twice you stepped in. And she says, since Jeffrey passed away 11 years ago, they've had 2 rabbis who have not really done right by this congregation. And I said, well, I'm really sorry. I'm figuring she's going to ask me if I know of somebody. And so she says, what do you think about you becoming an interim rabbi there? And I said, no. Why would I want to do that? Karen and I have a great life here in Atlanta. We go up to New York to see our kids. She follows me on Facebook, little did I know. She says, it's an hour and a half from Nashville. Of course, that's where Joey, our grandson, lives. I'm going, well, that's something, but no, I'm not interested. She said, look, they really need you. I really think this would be a good fit. What do you think? Would you entertain a conversation? Sure, I'll entertain a conversation. I should know better than saying that. So okay, in 10 days, Karen and I will be living a tale of two cities. What can I say? And I'll be the interim rabbi. Unfortunately, I won't be here for the holy days, but you can watch me if you want to turn it on. Anyway, so that's the story. And it's a great story, really. And it all started a long time ago. Another thing is thinking about a long time ago, my grandmother, the one I don't ever talk about usually, my father's mother, the German Jew, of blessed memory, used to say, and it was not Yiddish, it was German, Mensch tracht und Gott lacht. Man plans and God laughs. She was not PC at all, by the way. Man plans and God laughs. And it's true on many levels. All is well, and then God forbid sickness happens. Or we look at ourselves, our accomplishments, our talents, and we find that we are lost to the throes of our own subjectivity. We are blinded to the goodness in our lives, and we only see our flaws. But there we are, ambiguously looking in the mirror. I'm a little heavy. I've gotten gray. I have no hair, whatever. And where others see our successes, our courage, we only see that there's a need for change. We see flaws. Rabbi Yehuda, a second-century rabbi, is quoted in the Talmud saying, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Actually, he said it in Aramaic, but I figured nobody would understand. The more things change, the more they stay the same. We've all heard this before. Who knew it came from a second-century rabbi? And this second-century rabbi knew that negativity of the human spirit has a way of gnawing at us, so that even a promotion at work still feels like work. Or a raise. We only spend more. Or going off to see my kids. We're going to argue. The idea is that life is ambiguous, and the darker sentiments have a way of being sovereign over even the best moments of our lives. That place in the middle of our life, when our perspective shifts downward, even as we're moving upward, is strange and foreboding. It's a place with no boundaries unless we create them, and a place where melancholy seeps in like an invader. It's a place of ambiguity and uncertainty. In other words, it's the wilderness. The book of Numbers in Hebrew, Bamidbar, is the book of the Torah that understands the great expanse of the middle of life, where ambiguity of the boundless desert creates great upheaval. The people are itching for certainty. They want some certainty in their lives, and into this uncertain place, we find the Israelites far from Egypt and miles and years from the promised land. So in this week's Torah portion, Shlach Lecha, Moses sends 12 scouts to to the land to see, to scout out the land to see what kind of land this is. Indeed, it is a fertile land, flowing with milk and honey. And rather than focusing on the land, the Israelites are seized by their own negativity. 10 of the scouts are struck by fear, saying that there are giants living on the land, and we looked as grasshoppers in our own eyes. So we must have looked that way to them. And yet, we know from other places in Torah that those Israelites are anything but grasshoppers. Further on in the book of Numbers, like next week, the Israelites are likened to great and powerful oxen, ready to lick clean the land. And then Bilam in the following week, the archpriests of the Moabites could never fully see the entirety of the Israelite encampment because it was so large and so powerful. Further still, the children of Israel are depicted as others as rising like a lion and leaping up like the king of beasts. Look at the disparity of how these scouts thought of themselves versus how others saw them. Are they grasshoppers? Or are they lions? Are they oxen too numerous to count? Or vermin to be swatted away? One can see so easily that when faced with the ambiguity of life, how easy it is to take the darker path and think the worst of ourselves when others see the best of ourselves. Even as the future is arriving on their doorstep, where they can return home to the place that they have been promised, that windswept wilderness makes them cast their eyes downward. It fills them with fear, and it saps their power. The ambiguity of the wilderness fashioned most of the Israelites into an ambiguous people. Many of us feel like these scouts, overwhelmed by the ambiguity and uncertainty of life. But overcoming that sense of inner strangeness is at the heart of the spiritual journey. Accepting ourselves and choosing to push back the negativity is the way through the wilderness. In our Torah portion, 2 scouts, Joshua and Caleb, 2 out of 12, rose to push back the darkness, saying, "Have no fear. Then the people of the country, for they are of the people of the country, for they are our prey. Their protection has departed from them. But God is with us. Have no fear." They knew that the land was beautiful, but also difficult. Yet, unlike the other spies who let the ambiguity transform them, they saw their lives not as powerless, but as powerful. The Torah tells us here that in God's eyes, there are no flaws and no weaknesses. In your eyes, you might feel broken and imperfect, but to God, you are not broken. You are not flawed. You are like a lion waiting to leap. A holy life means being unapologetically alive. They saw themselves not from their own uncertainty and frailty, but drawing upon strength given by God to become their own agents and take destiny into their own hands. Interestingly, Rabbi Yehuda knew of this moment when one makes the choice to overcome the sadness of the world and sees the future. The same man who felt the sovereignty of disappointment in his own life realized that life is more meaningful when you choose to push against the negative and seize the future itself. Another author wrote, "Some people are always grumbling because roses have thorns." He continues on saying, "I'm thankful that thorns have roses. When presented with life that is both beautiful and terrible, you can look upon the rose and dwell on the thorns, or you can look upon the thorns and have thanks for the roses." This is the sacred choice the Scouts make, and we must all make, to look upon the ambiguity and uncertainty of the wilderness and choose to see ourselves not as grasshoppers, but as lions ready to jump fully into life. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will. Amen. And so now we are going to continue with our Amidah, which we will find on page 164. I ask you to please rise.
Ufi agi tehilatecha, Anananananana Adonai, Ananananana Sfatai tika, Ananananana Ufi agi tehilatecha, Ananananana Adonai, Ananananana Satai Tika, Ananananana Ufi Agid Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Chonei HaKol, v'Zocher Hazdei Avot v'Machot, Umevi Gula Livnei B'nechem, L'man Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol atah Rav L'Choshiach, Morid Hatal, Mechakel Hayim B'Chesed, Mechaye HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, L'Shenei Afar, Michamo Chabal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit, Umekaye, Umatzmiach Yeshuot, V'ne'eman atah l'chachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom v'chalu ha'sela, Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh.
We continue either silently with the text that follows or with the prayers of your own heart when you are finished. Please feel free to be seated.
tasim leholam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, tasim leholam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, tasim leholam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, tasim leholam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, tasim leholam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, tasim leholam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, tasim leholam. 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 Tasim leholam. Tasim leholam.
Bill Keller, president of our congregation, would you come forward for some announcements?
Thank you, Rabbi. First, already thank you again for wonderful service. Always a pleasure and enjoy hearing you every time.
Thank you.
And Scott, Rabbi, it's wonderful to have you.
It's only 35 years. Come on, Bill. We can be first name basis. Everybody else is with me. So,
Also like to thank even David Arkin, our ushers this evening, for welcoming everybody. Thank you. A couple of announcements, a couple of events going on. Tomorrow, we're having a Kaddish Minyan with Rabbi Colbert at 8:30, and you can stay for Hever Torah at 9 o'clock. And Wednesday at noon here, having a lunch and learn with Rabbi Max, talking about his reflections on Israel. And then in the future, July 15th, is Jessica Tillam's first service, our cantorial soloist, so be sure to be here for that. Then I have one advertisement here. The Caring Committee is looking for backup callers and a helper, so please let me know if you'd like to help in that case. Jerry Penn and Ann Fine and all the wonderful people on their committee do, amazing work. They just need a little bit more help. So if you're interested, let me know, or let them know, and that would be much appreciated. And I think that's it. Oh, the Oneg tonight is outdoors.
outdoors. Oh, good, we all get to sweat. Okay. I'm supposed to be thankful. Right. Meanwhile, there's not one person in here I can safely say that's under the age of 13, right? They're all at camp. But all of us behave like we're under 13, so sometimes we do. So let's rise, at least I do. Marty?
Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu
Eloheinu
melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu. B'shabbat kodesho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron ma'aseh v'reshit.
כי הוא יום תחילה מקראי קודש, זכר לציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, מכל העמים בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen. L'chaim. We turn to page 586 as we remain standing for Aleinu L'Shabeach.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונה, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר וחי אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones and those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing. We remember them. We meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. This week, we laid to rest a member of our congregation, Joel Reish. We extend to his family our deepest condolences. We observe also the Shloshim of Ethel Altman, Don Hathaway, and Deborah Frank, and the blessed yahrzeits of Manfred Alter, Joseph Ambinder, Sarah Goldstein Anton, Dr. Murray Arkin, Maurice Aronson, Bernice Braun, Sidney Karasek, David S. Citron, Kiki Cohen, Rella Asen, Thomas Fleckner, Adrian Fisher, Howard Gold, Julie Berman Goldberg, Rosalind F. Goldsmith, Harry Gudelman, Ronnie Gudelman, Etta Hansman, Harry Henken, Morris Cappy Kaplan, Charles William Loeb, Florence Hirsch Marks, Simon Mendel, William Miller, Meyer Morris, Simon Parnas, Fernando Seitowitz, Joseph Siegel, Emmanuel Slade, Sylvia Spiegel, Howard Stark, Alma Lee Vale, Alvin Walter, Lester Weinstein, and Irene Walensky. Are there others who should be named at this time? For those who are observing Shiva, I would ask to please rise at this time. Shloshim, 30 days of passing. Please rise. And if it's in the first year of mourning, please rise. And I ask those of you in the congregation whose tradition it is to join with these congregants who have suffered loss to please rise as we recite the Kaddish on page 598. 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malachutei, b'chayei echon v'yom echon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam lo me'lamaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'tadar v'talev v'talal shmei kudesha b'richu le'elamin kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechmata da'amiran ba'alma v'imru amen Yehei shalom rabba min shemaya v'chayim olenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen Oseh shalom b'mamav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav,
Ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. So with the, there's wax all over that. With the oneg following services, let us join together saying motzi, again, sliced. Okay, makes life easy. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. And we will conclude with Oseh Shalom Bimromav. May God who makes peace in the high places make peace here on earth.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, Ya'kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, Ya'kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, Ya'kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Shabbat shalom.